Here's some strong words from Sir Peter, Saint Peter, the Apostle Peter, inspired by the Holy Spirit, relevant for our times today. Be subject, for the Lord's sake, to every human institution. Oh, what was that? Every human institution. Every. Not stuck. Every. That's a hard word to break down. Be subject, for the Lord's sake, to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme or to one of his governors who he sends to punish those who do evil or to praise those who do good. For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover-up for evil. I think a lot of people are doing that. But living as servants of God. Honor everyone. Love the brotherhood. Fear God. Honor the emperor. That's amazing because the emperor back then was pretty nasty. He was not a Christian. He was doing things that the people didn't like. Honor the emperor. Fear God. Love the brotherhood. Honor everyone. Do you remember when Jesus was in front of Pilate and Pilate said, "Don't you know that I have the authority to set you free or put you to death?" And Jesus said, "Actually, Mr. Pilate," that's not quite what he said, but he said, "Actually, you have no authority except that which is given to you from above," or some versions say, "given to you from my Father above." Do you believe that? That Pilate would have no authority except that was given to him by God? I mean, if you modernize that and you think about, okay, so the people in power above us right now, ones we don't agree with right now, that they would have no authority except that which God has given them. Like, I mean, if you modernize that and you're standing before, say, Mr. Trump or Mr. Trudeau or Mr. Netanyahu or Mr. Horgan or Mr. Kenney or Mr. Ford, like, it doesn't matter, whatever world leader you want to put in the bucket there, you're standing before them and say they made an edict that Christians aren't allowed to worship anymore. You can no longer go into Walmart and worship, or you can no longer go anywhere and worship, not even outside, and you do, and you're arrested, and now you're standing before them and they say, "Don't you realize I've got the power to throw you into jail or even to take your life right now?" And you use Jesus' words and you say, "Actually, sir or madam, you have no power except that was given to you by God." If we really believe that, that means that we believe that they are there because God has allowed them there and God will use them as he will. And now Peter too, he's saying, listen, you got to be subject to. What does that mean? That means submissive. That means being a good citizen. That means yielding your will to another. Now, there's times when we need to stand up for what's right, or we need to stand for righteousness. And if it comes down to a line that's drawn in the sand over sin, like if the government's commanding us to do something that we shouldn't do before God, we would say, just like Peter did, should we obey God or should we obey you? We're going to obey God. That's one thing. A line is drawn. That's one thing. That's pretty clear. But when the government's not telling us anything that is actually sinful, we've got to be really careful. We've got to figure this out. Peter's saying, be subject to every human institution, whether it's the Prime Minister of Canada, President of the United States, Premier, whatever. Honor everyone. Love the brotherhood. Fear God. Honor the king or honor the emperor. Okay, yeah, but wait a second here. Caesar's not a Christian. Caesar's a pagan worshiper. In fact, he worships Caesar, so I'm not going to honor him. How do you honor the emperor? How do you honor the emperor then? That's a good question. You got to figure that out. You got to pray about this. How do you honor a pagan leader that you don't agree with. I think one of the first things to do is pray for them, forgive them, honor. You got to figure it out. You don't badmouth them, you don't mock them, you don't get ridiculous in a protest against them. Protesting, that's something to do, but you don't have to get ridiculous in it. It says don't let your freedom become a pathway or a cover up for doing evil. That's dishonoring the Lord. So honoring is obeying the rules if they're not disobeying the Lord. Well, it's not hard to think of what some of those examples might look like. So many videos out there, people are flying off the handles, pastors are getting super aggressive and we're gonna disobey, this is our fight. And it's like, I get that, I really do. I think we just got to be careful, we got to be praying, we got to be thinking before we just click like or forward this or forward that. We just really got to really honor. That's what the word says. Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor. That's a big mandate for all of us to really consider. Worth praying about this week.